Welcome back. Today, we're putting you right in the hot seat. I want you to step into the shoes of a central banker for this explainer. It's an incredibly high-stress job, especially when you open up your nation's ledger and realize it is just bleeding cash. Your balance of payments is severely in the red, economic alarms are literally blaring in the background, and your urgent task is to fix this ledger before the country's reserves completely run dry. Today, we are opening up the Stabilization Toolkit. But first, we really need to understand the crisis staring us in the face. We are dealing with a disequilibrium in the balance of payments. Simply put, our nation is importing way more goods and services than it's exporting. We're sending more money out to the rest of the world than we're bringing in. That creates a severe deficit, and it rapidly drains our crucial foreign exchange reserves. If we don't stop the bleed, we're looking at total economic paralysis. So, what's the game plan? How exactly do we fix this ledger? Well, we actually have 9 distinct, highly effective recovery tools at our disposal to correct this imbalance. As central bankers, it's just a matter of knowing exactly which levers to pull and when to pull them. To keep things organized, we're grouping these 9 tools into 4 strategic buckets: value adjustments, trade barriers, state substitution, and macro steering. And then we'll wrap up by looking at the ultimate balancing act. Starting with bucket number 1, value adjustments. Focusing on currency in the market. Think about it like this. Let's say $1 used to exchange for 50 rupees, but the market shifts and suddenly it takes 55 rupees to get that exact same dollar. This is what we call depreciation. It's a purely market-driven shift where our home currency's value drops. Now, why on earth would this help our crisis? Because it makes imports instantly costlier in our local currency, which naturally discourages people from buying stuff from abroad. But at the exact same time, our exporters are raking in more rupees for every dollar they make. That allows them to drop their export prices and become super competitive on the global stage. Basically, the free market automatically starts correcting the deficit. Now, you do have to be careful not to mix up depreciation with devaluation. There's a really crucial difference here. Depreciation happens automatically in a flexible, free market system. The invisible hands of supply and demand are doing all the heavy lifting. Devaluation, on the other hand, is a deliberate, calculated strike. It happens under a fixed exchange rate system, where the central bank steps in and officially slashes the currency's value. It's a highly strategic move meant to wipe out a deficit by making imports inherently expensive and our exports incredibly cheap for foreign buyers. Moving right along to Section 2, trade barriers, defending the borders. To defend the domestic market, governments often use direct import controls, and the big two are quotas and tariffs. Import quotas place a hard, physical limit on exactly how many foreign goods can cross a border. It's an absolute ceiling, which makes it highly effective and immediate. Tariffs, or import duties, act a bit differently. They're indirect. By slapping a tax on imports, we push the prices up, and we just sort of hope consumers decide to buy less. So the key takeaway here is that quotas are far more certain when it comes to stopping the drain of foreign exchange, whereas tariffs just rely on hoping the price change alters consumer behavior. But hey, we can't just play defense and block imports. We have to boost our income too. We do this through aggressive export promotion. We're talking about reducing export duties, offering massive tax exemptions, and handing out direct cash assistance and subsidies to local producers. We even step in to arrange international trade expositions and heavily encourage foreign tourism to funnel foreign currency straight into the local economy. It's a proactive, aggressive push to balance out those import blocks we just talked about. All right, let's look at Section 3, state substitution, where the government really takes control. Under absolute exchange control, the state essentially confiscates your wallet. It's a drastic 4-step process. Step 1. The government orders all exporters to surrender every single drop of their foreign exchange earnings directly to us, the central bank. Step 2. We now hold the only keys to the vault, and we strictly ration that currency out only to approved importers. Step 3. We only fund the essential goods our nation absolutely needs to function, which leads to Step 4. Luxury imports are entirely, ruthlessly cut off, so wave goodbye to those imported sports cars and designer bags because the central bank is absolutely not funding them. It's incredibly strict, but man, it fiercely protects those foreign reserves. And while we're enforcing that strict exchange control, we also deploy import substitutes. Think about it. If we're cutting off foreign goods, we have to cultivate our own local industries to manufacture those exact same items at home. By making it ourselves, we completely replace the need for imports. This is a brilliant short-term strategy to drastically save foreign exchange because you're keeping all that domestic money circulating right inside your own borders. Now for our 4th bucket, macro steering, where we focus on cooling the economy. If we want to stop a national import binge,
We use monetary policy to quite literally cool down the economy. It kicks off a fascinating chain reaction. First, the central bank hikes the bank rate, sells off approved securities, and raises the cash reserve ratio, or CRR. This instantly shrinks the availability of credit. Suddenly, getting a loan becomes incredibly expensive for everyday citizens and businesses. Because money is so tight, domestic consumption and business investments plummet. Consequently, the overall national income drops. And when people have less money in their pockets, they buy fewer imported goods. We successfully starve the demand.
Working right alongside that monetary policy is fiscal policy. And the government basically has two main levers to pull here: hiking taxes or slashing state spending. By jacking up taxes, the government directly lowers the disposable income of its citizens. Again, less cash on hand means less money to spend on foreign goods. Alternatively, the government can just slash its own expenditures, choosing to pause state projects and buy fewer imported materials themselves. Both of these steps aggressively squeeze demand right out of the market.
But what happens if you've pulled all of those levers and you still need a lifeline right this second? That is when we turn to short-term capital imports. When all else fails in the short run, we can just import capital directly to patch the imbalance. We can take on heavy borrowing from international heavyweights like the IMF or the World Bank. Or we can try to lure in private foreign money by hiking up our domestic interest rates to offer high yields and sweetening the pot with big tax concessions for foreign investors. It's essentially an instant cash injection to keep the lights on. Finally, Section 5, the Balancing Act, Mastering the Toolkit. I want to leave you all with a final, somewhat provocative thought. Yes, as a central banker, you have the power to pull every single lever we just talked about to fix the ledger. You can devalue the currency, lock down the borders with strict quotas, seize foreign exchange, and hike interest rates until the economy is ice cold. But you really have to ask yourself, can a nation actually endure the painful, real-world squeeze of absolute state control and dramatically cooled consumption? Fixing a bleeding balance of payments looks entirely doable on a spreadsheet, but out in the real world, the economic medicine is often just as tough to swallow as the disease itself. Definitely something to chew on. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and we'll see you in the next explainer.